Hey there, Mitch Wilder here, and I'm very excited to have Ron Watt with me here today. Ron is a PR professional. Ron does some amazing things. I met Ron, what has it been like a year and a half ago that we
Yeah,
met?
about a year and a half.
Year and a half ago. And we just become good friends and we like to talk business a lot. And I wanted to invite Ron with me here today. Ron has and his company have handled PR campaigns for companies like I've got the list here because it's a long list. We're seeing AT&T, Bayer, BMW. That's the one I like the most, I think. So Sony, Mastercard. You guys have worked with some large corporations. But what you're here to talk to us about today is a little bit more of companies on the, low to mid six figures, low seven figures, eight figures, right? Some of these smaller companies and how they're using PR. So thanks
Right.
for joining us. I'll let you tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Mitch. It's
Yeah.
good to get together on this. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that when they think of PR, they think that you're going to have to spend a lot of money on a huge PR campaign, or they think of big PR firms and stuff like that. And really, in this day and age, nothing could be further from the truth. People can either outsource it or train themselves to gain this publicity that normally would be reserved for very large companies.
Yeah, no, and that's well, I mean, and I think that's how we met. I mean, we had a need for some PR at our firm, one of the companies that we own, and we knew we had a need, but we were concerned about the cost, and we got connected, and you're kind of like, no, that's your perception of how this works is a little bit off. Let me tell you how it works. So
Yeah,
I saw that it was much more in reach than what I had thought. So let's talk about kind of the types of folks that are approaching you when a smaller business, six, seven figures approaches. Um, what is it that they're kind of looking for? What is it that they're looking for you to help them do?
yeah. So we get approached by six, seven figures businesses a lot. And number one thing that they want is they want publicity. They want some media relations, and media relations simply means it's a tactic of public relations, which is the larger sphere, and media relations is the tactic of getting publicity. So they want some media relations, um, and that generally is very, very doable, but they need to have a good story. And we help them decipher whether or not they've got a good story or not. Everyone thinks they've got a great story,
Yeah,
everyone, including myself.
yeah,
And the reality is that's not always the case in the eyes of the media. So what we
sure.
have to do is we have to craft the story to be newsworthy and to be acceptable to the media. So in a recap, just as far as what they're looking for publicity. They're looking for stories about them.
So they want to be when we say they're looking for publicity, they want to be featured on the local news, national news. They want to be on
Right,
TV. They want to be in some news article online, offline, or both. That's
right,
that's what they're looking for. Okay.
right. They're
And
looking for that. Yeah.
okay. And when they're looking for that, of course, from my side of it, my limited angle into this. So please, help educate me on this. Like I think of it, and it's like, okay, I want to get in the media because I want to be in front of more prospective clients. That's
Right.
the one angle. The other angle is to me is like, hey, there's this big misconception around what our company offers, what we do, and we need to start correcting that
Yeah.
from another source. Are those the main things, or are there more things that I'm not seeing as well?
Those are two components. So, a great strategy in media relations is to go around correcting misinformation. Um, And you can do that on a legal basis if there's something that's written and it's just not factually true. I know that we've talked about this in the past.
We had that.
You can
Yep.
dissect where and when the errors have been made and submit a correction request. And if it is wrong indeed, that they have to update it. So that can help from a perception standpoint if something's holding you back from closing a final deal.
Okay. Yep. So can I share the experience that we have with that you're going to
Yeah,
be helping us with? Is that okay to
yeah,
share
yeah,
that?
sure.
So an example of that for us is one of our companies, taxfreealways.com, sells financial products like Index Universal Life. Huge misconceptions in the market, misinformation about Index Universal Life. And what we were encountering is our sales staff were talking to talking to prospects, getting them pretty far down the line. As they were going down the line, they were doing Google searches, which we knew what the most popular searches were that they were doing. And on like three of the most popular searches, there was just this really, really inaccurate. What did we count? Like, because we had the contracts up, it was like 15 or 19
Yeah,
inaccuracies in
yeah,
that
close
article.
to
And I'm like,
20.
yeah,
Hmm.
I was like, Ron, this is inaccurate. This is inaccurate. And I'm like lining it up with the actual contracts for the product. And so the next step for us is to, because that's coming up on the first page in search results, you and your team would be submitting to their, what'd you say, to their legal department? Is that how you're going to do
We
that?
would be submitting it to their editorial department, their highest level editorial, and say,
Okay.
look, what you've published is wrong, and here's why it's wrong. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. If they decide not to bring it down, then we would pursue legal action.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, when I think about the value of that, we've got this article that we know is coming up. This has been our experience. We know so far that it's cost us at least $60 to $100,000 worth of business. That one article. So
Wow.
when these guys work their magic and that's corrected, like I don't care that the article is critical of it. I have no problem with that.
Right.
That we can overcome. It's the pieces in the article that are untrue, right?
Right.
That's what we want corrected. So I love that. I love that feature of what you guys do because it's not even something, to be honest, that crossed my mind that was even possible. Like I just didn't even know what I didn't know in that situation, until you brought my
Yeah.
attention to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it stuff like that can really hinder closing deals. And I mean, the value of getting that corrected and then the value of having positive publicity to help override that correction and help with SEO so that article doesn't keep coming up really does wonders for you. There's one other thing that I've noticed that people have been wanting, and that is a trust bar. So something on their website that says, as seen on Fox News, USA Today, NBC, et cetera, et cetera. And we help them do that and get that set up.
Yeah. So and but we know that there's things you got to look out for with that type of thing. Like I know that there's some strategies that people are doing that, and it's not actually, aside from getting those trust icons or those trust badges, they're spending a lot of money and they're getting the badges, but other than that, it's not positively impacting their company
That's
in any
exactly
way.
right. And there, people just think that if they hire a wire service, blast everything out, get the badges, that that's going to bring in business. That is simply wrong. It's happening a lot in the industry, and it's just I believe it's fraud. Quite frankly, I
Yeah,
believe
I'm with
that
you.
I think that people are who sell those services are defrauding their customers, thinking that they're going to be on USA Today and stuff like that, when in fact it's just an affiliate of USA Today, and it's buried into their online archives, and it doesn't create any actual lead generation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had business partnerships or, consulted with folks and they're like, we can get these trust, icons to legitimize us. And it's like, no, if we're not doing things legitimately that are getting picked up, like we don't want that. We don't want to go that way, you know?
Right,
And I think if anything, you have those trust badges where you see that they're like I'll tell you what I like to see when I see the trust badges.
right,
I like to see as seen on Fox News,
right.
and then a link to the article that
Yep,
they were in Fox News, or a link to the interview. You know,
yep,
to me, it's like, okay, I'm a trust but verify kind of guy,
right.
and so when I'm seeing them talk about, okay, as seen, like I'm an advertiser marketer at my core, and I'm like I know how they do that. What
Mhm.
were they really featured? And I know that with these media companies, as so much has transitioned online, they've lost print media because people don't consume print media as much as they do online media now.
Mhm.
They're always looking for ways to make more money. So I've even seen, am I thinking of Forbes, where it's like they'll put you on a cover of a Forbes magazine? It's like a digital mock-up,
Right,
and then
right.
it's like as seen on on the cover of Forbes, and like you
Yeah,
and you and your mom saw the
yeah,
the cover,
yeah. Right, right,
right?
right.
So
And you pay a couple $1,000s to have that happen.
right, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, to me like it's if I don't know, I don't want to be judgmental of people by by any means, but to me it's just it hurts you more than it benefits you, in my
in the
opinion.
long run, it
Yeah.
certainly does.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people understand what it is they're getting into. It's just they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this stuff is a little bit mysterious, you know.
Yeah, it is.
But I think that what a lot of people think of when they hear PR, I was recently talking with somebody, another business owner about it, and they're kind of like, oh, they hear PR, they're like, oh, we've done press releases before. Right. But it's like, well, there's a lot more to it. I know I at one point felt that way, as I was like, oh yeah, I've done press releases before, so I've done PR. Tell us a little bit more about what else, anything that you can disclose that's not private. What else
Right.
goes into it as far as more than just sending a press release? Because I mean, uh, these guys are inundated with press releases, the
Yeah,
reporters and everything. What
right.
else goes into it aside from just press releases?
Right. There's a lot that goes into it. The number one thing that we have as a strong pillar of excellence, we have five pillars of excellence. One is messaging, the second is research, the third is um, pitching, the fourth is follow up, and then the fifth is amplification. And really what that means is that the most important one that I think people really need to grasp on right now, there's the one takeaway they have is do your research. Do your research on the media, and then do your research on the marketplace data or any statistics that are available. Because, for instance, we're working on a story right now in a large business publication for a client that is about they do about 40 million a year, and what we decided to do for strategically for placement is we researched the used car industry and the growth of the used car industry, and they're in an automotive parts um, business. And what we did was we linked the macro story of the explosion of the used car industry to the growth of their company. So we were able to use a macro story with a micro story and basically to make it larger than what it could have been. And so that's what the angle was, and that's what the reporter decided to go with. As far as research goes, as far as researching topics, you want to. research topics and you want to um, go with media and attract media, pitch media that have already written about your topic. That means that they have
Huge.
covered the, it's huge. It really, if that's a number one takeaway, I would say approach media that have already written about your topic because they're going to be more keen on doing your story, and then look at the different stories that they've written, and then when you pitch them, reference in your email pitch, hey, I saw that you wrote a story on October 12th, 2022 about XYZ. Here is a different take that we have on that. And then you can include your press release in that way, opposed to just shooting out a press release and expecting someone to pick it up. If you shoot out a press release, I'm telling you right now, you shoot out a press release and you do not have a good pitch letter that is accompanying it, it's going to be thrown in the wastebasket. I don't care how good it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's essentially, if I'm getting this correctly, to me, what it sounds like is that like I've always viewed your audience and your market as being secondary to your message,
It
right? Because
is.
if you have, like, you can have the wrong audience and or an audience that's slightly off, be a little bit off on your targeting. But if your message is right, it'll attract the people out of that audience who are the right audience, who are the right fit. And what you just described to me sounds like that. It's like we're not going to get every single press release, that we send out, but our response rate is going to be substantially higher, substantially more successful because we're targeting the message at the audience. Hey, this reporter, this person has written about this topic before, maybe on several occasions. They're carving out a little niche for themselves.
Right.
Hey, let's spoon feed you another news story that you may want to take because it's in line with what you've already done. I mean,
Bingo.
that's way. I mean, it's kind of you've told me this before, and I'm sitting here thinking about it again, and I'm like, that it's very simple, but man, that really, I can't imagine it's easy to do. It's a simple concept, but it's
Yes.
so simple and so elegant, it just kind of blows my mind. I'm like, that is amazing. I love that.
And it works. It works every single time. I've been in this business for close to 30 years and it works every single time.
Yeah, that's well, and it's no wonder. I mean, there's simple is better. It's
Yes.
simple, it's elegant. I just yeah, I really love it.
Personalized.
Yeah, as soon as you told me that, I was sold on it. I was like, this is the difference.
Yeah.
This is the difference when we're working with a PR firm that has enterprise level clients, multi-million, 100 million plus, and larger with some of these companies we talked
Right.
about that also have simplified this and simplified their offer to make it so that even smaller businesses can use it.
That's
That's
exactly
powerful.
right.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I love it, man. I love hearing about this stuff. I've got more that I want to talk to you about this in the future.
Sure.
Maybe for this we'll, kind of keep this a little bit shorter today and kind of wrap up. So big takeaways in conclusion here today. Big takeaways. If you can just summarize that for me, what are the
Yeah.
main pieces?
The big takeaways is you don't need a huge PR firm to do publicity. You can do it on your own if given the right training. Okay, that's number one. Okay, you don't need to break the bank. Number two is the biggest takeaway from a media relations publicity standpoint is research the media. Understand what they're already talking about and how you fit into that. Those
That's
are the two
that's the
big
big one for me.
takeaways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the big one for me. And I do want to touch on what you said about the pricing. You talked about some training, how they could, how people could do it themselves, which I know you guys offer. But
yeah,
you guys don't you also have a service where it's kind of a a done with you, like, hey, there's all that uh,
Yeah,
research stuff. I'm a business owner, I'm busy, I don't necessarily know how to do that.
right.
How do I even find some of these reporters? So you guys have a service where it's like, hey, you do these things that you're already doing or already know how to do, right?
hmm
And
hmm
then we'll do the other parts, and that can be more cost effective. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a done with you service. It's about a year and a half old, and
Okay.
it's really effective because we do the heavy lifting on the parts that are really kind of tricky.
Yeah.
We still teach the students how to do it, but we do the heavy lifting, and then the stuff that the students can do, they do on their own.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I mean, even like when I was running my agency, we just found there are just things that the client is always going to be able to do better than we can,
Yeah,
because they know the
always.
business. But there's always pieces that they don't want to do, and we know we can do better than they could, because we've got the
Exactly.
time to focus on it. So that's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you taking the time with us here
Yeah,
today. And we'll put some links down below in the description for anybody who wants to reach out and connect, get some help in some of the various ways that you offer. And I appreciate you joining me here today, and I hope we can
cool.
do this again in the near future.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Ron.
All
Have a
right,
great
take
day.
care. You
Yep.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye.